Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. It is November 16th, 2022. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, the heavyweight division right now has a lot of guys in their 30s on the front lines. Let's name a few of them. Heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk, former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz, former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua, former heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, 40-something Luis Ortiz, right? Charles Martin, who Anthony Joshua beat to become heavyweight champion. You go down the list, you're going to find very few guys in their 20s, right? Zhang Zhili, he's in his 30s, right? So what I want people to understand is that the 20-somethings at heavyweight are already in the building. They have been, in my opinion, systematically shut out. Every time you hear a Derek Chisora get a fight or a Dillian White get a fight, understand that what that means is that some guy in his 20s at heavyweight is not getting the opportunity. We don't even talk about Daniel Dubois as having a heavyweight title. In other words, just like younger guys in other weight classes, 147, are being overlooked, right? Spence, Crawford, Ugas, they're all in their 30s. You have guys in their 20s being overlooked at heavy. So you have a very intriguing, must-watch, 20-something heavyweight fight coming up between unbeaten Fabio Wardley, right? Understand, Wardley has sparred with the likes of Usyk and AJ. People inside the game know who he is, right? It's just the fans outside of the UK who don't. Fabio Wardley's taking on Nathan Gorman. Gorman's sole loss, his only loss, was to Daniel Dubois. Now, let's just be blunt here. And I need for people to understand, this is not a fan site. This site is really intended for gamblers. Let's be blunt here. This fight in a sentence. In fact, we'll make it a paragraph. Wardley is the superior talent. Gorman has the superior jab and structure, which includes defense. The open question here is Gorman's right hand. Will it be enough? The line is unbalanced. Look, even I think Wardley wins more than 5 times. If these two were to fight 10 times, right? Wardley has the edge. The question is whether it justifies the current line. I believe it doesn't. The bet I like is Nathan Gorman at a plus 240. To win the fight, I'll hedge the play with the under. Right? Fabio Wardley has the best punch between the two of them. It's his right hand. But Wardley also has the most disturbing film on him. We'll discuss it. Let me also say this too. Gorman is very proficient with his left hand. He throws a great jab. He throws a great left hook. Right? He's very proficient with it. But looking at film, I'm wondering if this is a Caleb Plant situation. I'm wondering if something is wrong with his right hand, which is what I suspect with Caleb Plant, or whether this guy's actually inverted. I don't have the information, and it's important here. It's very important. Again, I like Gorman, the underdog, plus 240, right? The casino's compensating me for the risk, right? Anything above a plus 150, understand the casino would then be giving your fighter a less than 40% chance of winning the fight. Here, I'm getting a plus 240. I'll take my chances, right? The reason for the under is simply these are two heavyweights. There is a fight where Gorman knocked down the other guy 5 times. Wardley has the best punch, right? He cleaned up Eric Molina in very impressive fashion, right? So I believe if Wardley is going to win this fight, it would have to be by stoppage. Let's talk about it. Now, Wardley, 14 fights, 13 KOs, right? He's a knockout puncher. Let's not get confused. But, in my opinion, he's too upright. In my opinion, he's not fluid, even though he is the better athlete. He doesn't want to commit. He does not trust his jab. He, like a lot of guys who have a blessed punch, right? His right hand is devastating. He is not defensively blessed. One of the problems with heavyweights in their 20s is that they're accustomed to being the big man on campus, so to speak. They haven't had the adversity or the experience that would force them to learn defense. Fabio Wardley is Exhibit A, right? Wardley uses his legs for defense. In other words, you throw a punch, he just jumps backwards, right? Clearly, he hasn't faced the guy who's going to fake like he's throwing a punch, have Wardley jump backwards, and then is going to follow Wardley, right? Is then going to realize, hey, I have Wardley on his back foot. Let me now step deep in the pocket and rough up this guy as he's trying to back away, without, of course, Floyd Mayweather defensive skills. Let me say, too, he backs away in a straight line. Now, I understand, given the level of opponent that he's fighting, okay, maybe that's not fatal, right? You try that against Ergovic, against Zhang Zhili, against Tyson Fury, and folks, you're finished. Let me just point out, that's the secret to Wardley. To beat him, you'll have to follow him after the ambush. In other words, don't get me wrong, the guy has offensive skills, right? But if you have your defense intact and you're able to survive his onslaught, if you follow him after the ambush, again, folks, the defense is not there. Now, I know what I'm saying sounds jarring because, of course, the media, right, the promoter behind him, the TV stations behind him, they want to entice fans to come watch the show, right? People aren't focused on a fighter's shortcomings. But if you're gambling your hard-earned money, you need to be. Wardley, in his 20s, only one fight going the distance, has holes in his game. He's the better athlete here with the faster hands and the big punch, the right hand. But understand, he has holes in his game. Now let's talk about the disturbing film. I believe I have the highlights of that fight in my favorites folder here on YouTube. In my opinion, the best guy Wardley has fought to date is Eric Molina. Right now, understand, Molina is what I call a cagey vet. He's been in the ring with the likes of Deontay Wilder. He knows a few things. Now, Wardley beat him. I know for many, they're just going to check the box. Wardley got by Eric Molina. But what I want people to do is to look at the fight, right? By the way, he did so by stoppage. As I said, Wardley has a punch, right? I believe the punch that finishes off Molina is a right hook followed by a left hook, right? But make no mistake, it's the right hook that does, in my opinion, most of the damage, right? But understand, Molina, the KG vet, figures something out in the short time that he's upright. He figures out that if he fires his straight right hand, right, especially if he leads with that straight right hand, it's going to land. Right? So, Molina is throwing a lot of straight rights. And folks, they're landing. Understand, this is not a Lennox Lewis type trap, where the guy lands a straight right, then you notice Lewis is looking like he's open for the straight right, but oh, Lewis has a surprise. No, this is not a trap. This is lack of preparation. This is lack of focus. Wardley doesn't know what to do with Eric Molina's straight right hand. So, Molina is landing that straight right with regularity and seemed to have Wardley timed. Folks, Wardley is lucky he was not facing Deontay Wilder. Wardley was lucky he wasn't facing Dillian White. There were a lot of guys who, if you say, hey, player, you can land your straight right hand, they're going to go for it. Well, that's where Gorman enters the room. Now, I've looked at Gorman films. Gorman's the opposite of Wardley. Right? Wardley is the athlete, all dressed up with athleticism, with nowhere to go. He doesn't quite know how to frame it. Right? A guy lands a straight right on him. Wardley doesn't really know how to make the adjustment. Right? Wardley's response is to back away, then come in with guns blazing. He did finish off Eric Molina. Right? He is devastating offensively. But I get the feeling that a skilled opponent can come in and still land that straight right hand. I believe that Eric Molina film is what I call a blueprint. Right? Wardley is so concerned with his offense, he forgets about yours. Even when you're a right-handed fighter throwing straight right hands. Now, I've looked at Gorman films. Gorman's left, ooh, that's nice. Gorman's jab is the most skilled punch in this fight. Right? Gorman can come in and Gorman can set up the jab. Understand, too, Gorman has dealt with some slick customers in fights where he was not the better athlete. The Richard Lardy fight, and let me just say, Lardy's interesting. He's an excellent litmus test. I mean this, an excellent litmus test for heavyweights. Lardy comes out and he's showing hand speed. He's showing athleticism. He's on his front foot. He backs Nathan Gorman up. But folks, guys with a great jab, guys who have structure to their game, right? They have a decision tree in their head. This guy crashes the pocket, I'm not going to lose focus. I'm going to have my defense ready. I'm going to hit this guy with the jab. I'm going to make him, as Teddy Atlas likes to say, pay for the real estate. Right? I'm going to move side to side. I'm going to throw left hooks sometimes when this guy thinks my jab's coming. If he gets by all that, I'm going to tie him up. right? Gorman eventually wears down Richard Lardy. What I haven't seen on Gorman films, at least the ones I've looked at, is the Eric Molina straight right hand. Folks, if Gorman has a great straight right hand, then this is going to be a hell of a betting opportunity, because he is the better technician than Fabio Wardley. Right? Wardley's the better athlete. Wardley has the faster hands. Wardley's right hand is probably the heaviest punch either guy can throw. Wardley can't clinch like Gorman. Wardley can't jab like Gorman. Gorman's a survivor who, even when he's physically overwhelmed early in that Lardy fight, is able to make adjustments. You notice Gorman is a guy who, over the course of a fight, figures out his opponent and makes adjustments. So I'm going to take my chances. I don't know if Gorman has the straight right hand. I believe it's there against Wardley. But I do know Wardley is reckless. He's a risk taker. That'll help him in some fights. Right? That'll help him in some fights. There are going to be fights where the other guy then decides to be a risk taker. The thing is, the daredevil is Wardley. Wardley's a daredevil. Right? Wardley's going to come in. He's going to try to hit home runs. He's going to swing big. Right? He's going to have his hands down as he backs away. Now, that's a negative insofar as if a guy has ring coverage, if you have your hands down and you're backing away from Deontay Wilder, good luck with that. If a guy has ring coverage, he might be able to hit that chin and your hands are down. You're not, ready for it. You're going to get knocked out. Right? Gorman doesn't have that level of ring coverage. Gorman is not a superior athlete. Compared to Wardley, Gorman has slow hand speed. But I'm just telling you, folks, Gorman is the technician. A lot of boxing is mental. It's technique. He's going to have Wardley walking into jabs. If this fight comes down to a decision, and if Gorman never hits the canvas, Gorman has a real shot to win by decision. Wardley is that uneven. So, the bet I like is the underdog. Folks, quite frankly, if I see a fight and I think it's 60-40, or, as here, 55-45. In other words, I give Wardley the edge, but not that much. Right? And if the casino is silly enough to give me a plus 240, in other words, they're telling me if these guys fought 3.4 times, Gorman would only win once. And understand, as much as I respect Eric Molina, the best guy either of these guys have fought, I believe, is Daniel Dubois. Gorman fought Dubois. Right? By the way, Gorman did better against Dubois than did the guy, the champ, who Dubois beat to take his title, Trevor Bryant. Right? So Gorman has been in with athletic types. Right? The Gorman-Kevin Johnson fight, Gorman wins that fight. That's a chess match. Right? Kingpin loses big fights. But understand, Kingpin comes in, he has his defense ready. It's very hard to hit Kevin Johnson flush. And Gorman in that fight does not get flustered. Well, to sum up, I like the underdog. I have to return this call. I like the underdog Gorman. I'll hedge the play with the under. But I need for you to understand the risk involved. If Wardley gets a late stoppage, and Wardley is a guy with explosive power, Wardley is a guy who's behind the scenes been in with AJ and Usyk. You lose it all. I like Gorman plus 240, hedged with the under. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this YouTube video. Tell us who you like. Tell us why. Right? Tell us the fights that indicate to you that your pick is going to win this. Thanks for stopping by.